What's going on, guys? You guys should already know that I am definitely going to be reviewing this series for the very first season, Vikings Valhalla. So first off, if you have not seen anything about it, click off the video like I've always been saying, and then come back and we are going to be talking more about Vikings Valhalla. But this whole season, man, wow. If you guys are unaware, this takes place 100 years after the events of the finale of Vikings. Okay? The story goes around a brother and a sister that are ones by Eric the Red. Now you got Leif Erikson and his sister Freydis, who are coming to Kattegat due to they were summoned by the King Canute, who is the new king of Norway, Greenland, and Iceland at this moment in time. Now, during the massacre of St. Brice Day, Harold Sigurdsson, who is the great grandson of Harald Finehair, his brother was killed on that day, where they wanted to purge all Vikings from England. Shocker? No. So what we see in the entirety of the half season is where all the Vikings gather to go get revenge on what happened, right? Now when this happens, Freydis and Leif, they come for their own accord because the Harold's half-brother, I would say first man in charge, decided to take advantage of Freydis and leave a huge cross on her back, where ones in Greenland were not pagan and they were not Christian. Now, during this era, there were more Christian Vikings than there were 100 years ago. So we have this big issue with pagan Vikings and Christian Vikings. Now the entirety goes back and forth of the entirety of this season where, oh, what's better? And we have where Freydis does kill the one who did this to her, and then unfortunately Leif has to pay back the debt for what happened with going over to England and trying to help Harold and Canute as well as everybody else to defeat the English. Now they do. Unfortunately, Leif does lose everyone that came to from Greenland with him. He does lose his very good friends. He even loses his love interest at the very end of the series due to Harold's brother, because him and Harold, they have their differences, but they do become friends, and Harold does become infatuated with Freydis, and Freydis stays behind in Kattegat and actually slowly starts learning more about being a pagan, as well as also somehow becomes a shield maiden of the new ruler of Kattegat. Now, the current ruler of Kattegat, she is I would say, the so-called grandchild of Bjorn, when she's really not. She is more, because if y'all remember, Harold took advantage of Bjorn's second wife, and of course she got pregnant, and I do believe that was with Harold's child, but she started saying that that is Bjorn's. But we do see where during this time frame that if you really look at it, Harold as well as the current ruler of Kattegat, they were like distant cousins or something like that. But overall, we have where she goes through this journey of trying to be the current, or so-called the last of Upasa, who is, I would say, one of the last true believers somehow, because she even gets to see the seer. If you guys don't remember, the seer who was blind, who was very disfigured, who Ivar killed, who was always with Lagertha or Ragnar or even Floki or Bjorn, who always knew everything. So she gets to see him, and he says, "Don't even see me again." But we get this other character by the name of Jarl Korn, who has been taking over other regions in Norway, who is wanting Kattegat for his own reasons, to destroy Kattegat, to purge all paganism in the area. And we have what's going on in England, where Canute does take over England. He rules over England, but we have a problem to where he comes infatuated with the new Queen Emma, who is a descendant of Rollo, what we find out, and she is the stepmother to the young king of England, whose father does die before the Vikings arrive. So when this happens, Canute actually leaves him alive. He kills the one in Mercia, who is the current noble there, and we have another character by the name of Goodwin, who has been allied himself with the king and, well, the new young king, as well as the Queen Emma, who later becomes infatuated with Canute, which we'll get to here in a minute, because there's so much stuff that happens, and I know I'm probably mixing up here, guys, but just I'm going to try to keep it simple. Canute, the king of all Norway slash, all these other lands, he goes to England, he conquers England, he marries Emma, the queen of the old former king. He marries her, even though he's already married to someone else in Norway. His former wife does go there because she hears about this. She tries to take over. It does not work. Canute has to leave to go back to Norway to defend it from the one Canor, after he tries to ally himself with Olaf, who is the half-brother to Harold. So Harold is trying to help defend Kattegat with Leif as well as Freydis when they all return from England, because now Leif has all this this fame, all this fortune, and he wants to be better known than what his father was known, as a killer as well as just a hitman and a hungry savage for war. And when this war happens, we see where Olaf, all he wanted was to use Canor to take over Kattegat, and then they just roll in and take it over, as always. That's how it always wants. Everybody wants Kattegat, right? And we see in the whole entire of the season where we see a lot of betrayal going on, a lot of use of power, which we've always seen in Vikings, and we see a lot of trying to figure out who is who, because I was really trying to figure out what makes this person so special, what makes this person so special. Now, I will say this, that somehow or other, Freydis got her hands on the King of Swords, the Sword of Kings, that Bjorn had, as well as Ragnar. I like to know how that ended up in a priest, a pagan area that the priests were in, that was later burned down by Canor. Now, I love to know, again, how this woman that was the leader of Kattegat, because she does get killed, but I like to know why she became the leader, because honestly, she did not come across as leader material. I found that to be very lacking in leader material. I don't think she was that interesting of a character. I think that she pretty much was just given the title. I don't think she earned it. And then same thing with Freydis. I mean, I don't mind Freydis, but I like to know how she gained Shield Maiden so quickly, because it just seemed like as soon as she became Shield Maiden, everybody started listening to her, and even before then, no one was really listening to her. So now all of a sudden, people are going to listen to you, and now you've gotten a rank. It just didn't make sense. Why was she getting this much power so early, I would say, to where it just went so quickly? And I'm sitting here, and as a viewer, and as someone that loved Vikings, and I'm sorry, between Ragnar, Bjorn, Lagertha, these new ones ain't gonna hold a candle to them. I'm sorry. I don't think they'll ever hold a candle to them. I will say what was very interesting at the very end of the season, where Leif loses his love interest and just goes berserk on all these ones that are trying to take over Kattegat. And at the very end, we don't know if he's just going to go insane or he's just going to change, because he says that the only thing that kept his anger in check and his rage in check was, of course, his love interest, Liv. So unfortunately, now that she's dead, there's really now nothing left to keep his anger and his rage in check. So that's going to be something. We don't know if he's going to go after Olaf, since Olaf is the one that killed his love interest. We also know that Freydis and Harold took off to flee from Kattegat because of Kattegat being lost to now Olaf. And now we also got to see at the very end of the season where Canute's father was invading Kattegat to take it back for King Canute. So now Canute, we don't know where Canute is at this point. We know that he is now the king of Norway, Greenland, Iceland, as well as also now England. So right now, Emma is leading England in his stay. We have in Norway, more than likely, Canute's father is going to be leading his stay. We don't know who's leading in Greenland or in Iceland at this point. So there's a lot of unanswered questions of who's leading what in Canute's absence. Because right now, Canute wants to gather a huge empire, which we could later see at some point later on in the line, which I think we will, due to how sometimes Vikings do. Because if you all remember that very last season, how we had the massive Christian Russian Vikings that were going after Bjorn and everybody else that Ivor teamed up with, and we had that massive battle. We could see that. Overall, I did like this series. Don't get me wrong. I do like the spinoff. It's just there's some things to me that didn't make sense. It felt kind of rushed of how quickly Freydis got her standing in power, should say. Same thing with Canute gaining from another power of a king. Also of how all these other characters you really don't know nothing about, and then all of a sudden they're just key to the series, and how they make no sense of how these minor characters that were supposedly very important, like the one that was the former ruler Kattegat, how she inherited all this. And honestly, she had all these great shield maidens, but they couldn't fight for nothing. So it made me wonder exactly what the hell are they trying to give us when they're not really showing us if they're great warriors, and how come they're not proven to be great warriors. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, that maybe I'm just nitpicking, I don't know. Same thing with some of the things that was going on in England. There was a lot. It just gets me that for history, that Vikings, we didn't think about, oh hey, we keep trying to take over England, we try to leave someone over in England, they're just going to get killed, and this same thing is just going to keep happening. And that's exactly what's going on right now. So I don't know, guys. What are your thoughts? I personally like to know. Vikings Valhalla is good. Don't get me wrong. It has room to improve. It is the first season. There's going to be a lot of room for improvement. I'm looking forward to seeing how it is going to improve, slash if it's going to be picked up for another season. Also with the way it ended, and also who we're going to be seeing taking the fall or dying or whatever's going to happen. Who is your favorite character? I personally don't really have a favorite character right now at this point in time. I'm just trying to see who is going to be like the best character. I think they're trying to make, I would say, Leif a little bit like Bjorn slash Ragnar, or really more like Harold like Ragnar, and Rollo a little bit. And I would say they're trying to make Freydis like Lagertha. I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to redo them characters. I'm sorry, no matter how hard you try. I mean, I know these men and women tried very hard to do the best they can with these roles that they were given. Sometimes it is the writing, sometimes it's just the way the story goes, but there are just certain things I just can't get behind for certain aspects for a character, certain aspects for writing. But overall, I do like the series. I'm looking forward to seeing season 2, and yes, I can still be a fan and nitpick at the end of the day. But either way, let me know what you guys thought about Vikings Valhalla down in the comments down below. If you guys are new to the channel, it's about subscribing, leave a big fat like on the video if you guys enjoyed. What y'all think about it? I personally like to know. Let's have a great discussion about it down in the comments down below. Hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.